What's going on, guys? It's Greg here today, and I'm bringing you a Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 commentary about perks. I think perks are a very important part of your loadout that a lot of people might overlook. And a lot of the times I see a lot of people using perks that just don't really make sense together. You see, perks are synergistic, and what I mean by this is that some perks go really well together while others don't. And on top of that, there are some perks in the game that, while yes, they are still giving you an advantage that you normally wouldn't have, they're just not really all that good. And that's why I want to take the time today to go over all of the perks in Modern Warfare 2, what they do, and then I'm going to rate them in a tier list and tell you guys what I think is good, bad, and I'm also going to give you guys some tips on some perks that go together. If you guys enjoy this video, be sure to leave a rating, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and let's get right into it. So let's take a look at our actual tiers here, which are going to be best, strong, good, average, and below average. Best are going to be the absolute best perks in the game. Strong perks are going to be perks that are really good, but they're not quite the best. Then good are perks that are good, but they're just not really all that. Then there's average perks, which are just they're okay. And then there's below average, which are just perks that I think you should stay away from because they're either too niche or they just don't really serve all that much of a purpose. So starting off, we have the base perks, and to kick it off, we have Double Time. Double Time is going to double the duration of your attack sprint as well as give you 30% more crouch movement speed. I think Double Time is a strong perk, but it's not the best, and the reason being is attack sprint in this game recharges kind of slow compared to other games, and it's not like 2019 where you could just slide cancel and refresh your attack sprint, which made Double Time very powerful. With that being said, Double Time is still a very powerful perk because it's going to allow you to move fast around the map. However, I think Double Time is considered the best when it's used in S&D compared to that of respawn modes. And since that's more of a niche playstyle, I think that Double Time belongs in the strong category. And next up we have Overkill, and Overkill is another very strong perk. However, I just don't think it's the best, and the reason I say this is because there are some very powerful secondaries in this game. And in multiplayer, I just don't really think having two fully kitted out primaries is always the most beneficial thing. As a matter of fact, if you use something like the Snakeshot Basilisk or the Akimbo P890s, you can still get a one-shot, one-kill with those secondaries, and that's just more beneficial in my opinion than having to waste one of your perks on Overkill. So again, if you want to run two primaries, maybe you want to run a sniper with an SMG or something that makes sense, then Overkill is definitely a very strong perk. But considering how strong the P890s and the Basilisk sidearm is, I would say that, well, Overkill just isn't quite the best. And then we have Battle Harden. Battle Harden is good. It's not amazing though, and the reason being is this version of a resistance to tactical style perk is just nowhere near as strong as it's been in the past. The reason being is that it only reduces the time and duration of the effects of a lot of these tacticals rather than really being a hard counter to them. So yeah, it's going to save some time that you might be down and out of the battle, but at the same time, it's not a full-on counter, which means if you were hit by a tactical in a safe place to begin with, well, it's not really going to help you out. And then we have Tracker. Tracker is a unique perk because I feel that it's actually a lot better than people think, but for a different reason than you might think. So Tracker is a very strong perk because it hides death markers, and a death marker is a skull that pops up on your screen whenever a teammate has recently died nearby. So this is actually a really good stealth perk because whenever you're killing people, you're going to hide those death markers. And this is really powerful against people who are playing solo or by themselves because they don't get that communication that a teammate has recently died, unless they're paying attention to the minimap at all times. So yeah, this is actually kind of like a hidden stealth perk, and I went over this in a video, and I think Tracker is strong for this reason. Now, yeah, the footprints are great and all, but I'm telling you guys, that death marker is such a huge deal in something like 10v10 or ground war, where the player counts are much higher. Now, next up we have Bomb Squad, and Bomb Squad is going to be one of the best perks in the game. And the reason I say Bomb Squad is one of the best perks in the game is because explosives are everywhere. And tanks are everywhere in ground war as well. So one of the things about this perk is not only will you never die unless you are direct impacted by an explosive while you're at full health, I must mention. If a tank were to hit you with a shot, you'll actually survive. Now, you will be slowed down by the shot from the tank if it's splash damage, but you can get away. And not only is this perk great in 6v6 and 10v10, where people are constantly respawning and throwing semtexes, or if you run into a claymore or proximity mine, you'll be able to survive it, but it also has that added benefit for ground war, and I just think it's useful across every single game mode in the game, and you just can't go wrong, because if people are using rocket launchers, you'll survive, unless direct impacted, of course, and same thing goes for explosives. So overall, just having explosive resistance, you can't go wrong with it because everybody has explosives. And next up we have Scavenger, which it kind of pains me to put Scavenger as a good perk rather than like a strong perk. And the reason being is Scavenger's really good, don't get me wrong. Being able to have more ammo at your disposal by picking up scavenger bags is very useful. However, whenever you're running something like an extended mag or certain guns that have bigger clip sizes, you still only get 30 rounds per scavenger bag. And on top of that, sometimes the scavenger bags fly from a person you kill and they can be hard to find or pick up. And the munitions box also exists in the game. So the munitions box, in my opinion, is just a better version of Scavenger because, well, you can earn it pretty quickly. It gives you multiple magazines, and on top of that, it also gives you a lethal and a tactical. Now, extra tactical is just an average perk, and the reason being is there's so many good perks in the base perk category that I just personally cannot see a reason that I would want to take an extra tactical. And again, if you're going to use extra tactical, it might be worthwhile to use the resupply perk in combination with this, or else you're just kind of wasting a perk slot. But it still has its use because having 2 stims or stuns can be really nice. But I just don't think it's quite as competitive as the other perks. And then we have Strong Arm as our final base perk, and I'm not gonna lie, I think this perk is not really useful at all. Maybe if you're new to the game and you don't really understand where your nades are going to land, then I can understand having that trajectory show you where they're gonna go, but after you lob a few nades, you'll pretty much have a great understanding of where they are going to land. And then having the ability to throw them farther, I just don't really think is all that useful because they actually throw pretty far to begin with in this game. And there's just so many better options because again, once you're out of nades, this perk is useless. It's the same thing with extra tactical. Once you're out of tacticals, the perk is useless. So maybe if you're not going to stay alive, I guess, but even then, it's just not that useful compared to the other perks that are always active in helping you out. So as a quick recap, here are our base perks rankings, and next up we are going to go ahead and review the bonus perks. And starting us off, we have Resupply, and Resupply is great because it's going to give us an extra lethal, and on top of that, it's going to allow us to resupply our lethal and tactical equipment. And this is great because it's something that's always helping you throughout the match, and having that extra piece of lethal equipment is very strong. So overall, I think Resupply is one of the best perks in the game because it's always active and you just can't go wrong with it. And the same is to be said for having Fast Hands on your class. Fast Hands is going to allow you to swap weapons faster, use equipment faster, and just speed up the overall handling of everything you have. And again, it's just a perk that's always active, you can't go wrong with it, and overall, it's just one of the best perks in the game because in COD, everything comes down to timing. Everything is a matter of milliseconds, and being able to reload faster might make or break a scenario of whether you live or die. Sadly, I can't say the same thing about our next perk, which is going to be Spotter. And the reason I say Spotter is not really great, I mean it's good, don't get me wrong, but it's just that Bomb Squad is going to help you survive claymores and proximity mines, and hacking them takes a little bit of time out of your match, and you might die even while you're trying to hack enemy proximity mines and claymores. On top of that, you have to assume that the enemies are going to run proximity mines and claymores in the first place, because that's really the only reason I would ever recommend running this perk. Seeing enemy munitions boxes, suppression mines, all that kind of stuff, they're pretty easy to spot without spotter, so yeah, I just don't really think spotter is all that great. However, it is a strong perk if you aren't going to run bomb squad whenever your enemies are running something like, well, claymores or proximity mines, but for that reason alone, it's a little bit too dependent on the enemy team, and therefore I would say really only use spotter if you aren't opting for bomb squad. And that leads us to cold-blooded, which is just kind of an average perk, and the reason I say cold-blooded is average is because it really depends on the type of players you're going up against. Are they going to be running high alert? Well, there's much stronger options in the ultimate perk package. Same thing goes for spotter scopes. How many people really run spotter scopes outside of ground war? And then kill streaks. I mean, the VTOL, the sentry gun, those are really the only streaks you're really going to be hiding from, because chopper gunners and gunships, a smart player is going to know if you're an enemy crossing, regardless of whether or not you have that diamond showing around you. And you also have to assume the enemies are going to get streaks in the first place. Now, I will say that you can switch to cold-blooded during a match, but I just don't think it's smart to start off with cold-blooded because, again, there's not going to be streaks in the beginning of a match. No one's going to have high alert in the beginning of the match. You don't know if people are really even going to be running high alert. So let these things become problems during a match, and then you could always switch to a cold-blooded perk package, but I just think cold-blooded's average because there's just better options. And by the way, if VTOLs are really that scary, you could always just wait in a building while it's up. So, I don't know. I just don't really feel cold-blooded is all that useful. And we also have Hardline as our next perk, which, I'm not gonna lie, I run Hardline all the time. I love Hardline, but Hardline is only good at best. And the reason I say this is because as soon as you earn all your streaks, Hardline's useless. It doesn't do anything anymore. So, it's good if you're playing against really good players or you just really want to get your streaks faster. But again, you really have to make sure you're focusing on kill streaks as, you know, what you're trying to do in a match. And, well, if you're not someone who's going for higher tier streaks or really focusing on getting your streaks in the first place, then Hardline isn't going to serve you all that well. And on top of that, like I said, it's only good until you earn your streaks. Then you just have a useless perk. So, I love Hardline, I love you so much Hardline, but I just can't put you any higher. And then we have Focus, which is just useless unless you're sniping, so I'm just gonna put it in below average because, yeah, it does reduce flinch very slightly, but even then, I mean, it's really only going to be noticeable on snipers where you're gonna have massive flinch reduction, but again, I mean, how many times are you actually going to be using this perk outside of sniping? It's just not going to help you out. You can't hold your breath with other guns, so that's why I say Focus is below average. But if you're sniping, hey, it's the best perk in the game for, well, sniping, but, you know, only for sniping. And here's our quick recap of all the base perks and bonus perks of where they are so far, and now we're going to move into the last perk category, the ultimate perks. And starting us off, we have High Alert, which I'm just going to put in the good category, and here's why. While High Alert is always active, the problem with this perk is a lot of people do tend to run cold-blooded, and therefore that hard counters this perk. On top of that, there's just better options, okay? Having somebody flash your screen when they're looking at your back isn't very useful, considering you die very fast in Call of Duty's multiplayer, and you probably will die before you really get a good chance to react to them. Now, it can help you get to cover, like, okay, I'm being looked at, I need to get to cover, but honestly, if you just have better map awareness, spawn awareness, and all that kind of stuff, High Alert pretty much becomes useless. And Ghost is definitely one of the best perks in the game, okay? This game has so much UAV spam, especially when you start playing 10v10 or Ground War, where there's more players, there's more people running UAVs, and UAV is the easiest streak in the game to earn. So being able to stay off of the enemy's radar is just so powerful because you give the element of surprise, and a lot of players tend to really just start chasing red dots while a UAV is up. So if you're playing near but kind of away some teammates you know might not be running Ghost, you can kind of bait them and really take your enemies by surprise, and this perk just becomes so strong. And then just like Ghost, Quick Fix is one of the best perks in the game because after every kill you instantly start healing, which is just so important for getting ready to the next fight. On top of that, if you're on an objective, you'll actually start healing all the time. So while you're taking damage, if people start missing shots, you're actually healing. So it can actually take more bullets to kill you while being on an objective. So Quick Fix is definitely one of the best perks in the game. But I can't say that about Overclock, which is sad because I really like Overclock, but I think Overclock belongs in the bonus category rather than the ultimate category. And it's just because it doesn't really compete with Quick Fix or Ghost. Being able to have a second charge on a field upgrade and getting your field upgrades faster is nice, but it's just not that game changing. And as a matter of fact, it's not going to let you survive all that much longer because you're really just seconds away from an enemy UAV revealing your position on the minimap, so yeah, it's just not really all that great. And then we have Survivor, which is the worst perk in the entire game. If you're running this perk, stop it. Get some help, okay? It's terrible. The reason this perk is terrible is because, one, you're gonna go down in the second chance, and okay, you're revealing yourself on the radar because you're not running Ghost. So everyone knows where you're going to be at while you're down. Alright, UAVs are everywhere in this game, like I said. And on top of that, you can't shoot while you're down. Once you revive yourself, the perk becomes useless, and that's if you're able to revive yourself. And sure, you can use the argument of, well, I play Ground War and I sit in my home HQ. Well, guess what? Okay, you get sniped and you revive yourself and then you get sniped again. So no, this perk is useless. Stop running it. I'm telling you guys, you're so much better off running Ghost or Quick Fix. Trust me. And last but not least, we have Bird's Eye, which is a very strong perk, but I will say it's outclassed by Ghost and Quick Fix. And the reason it's strong is because having every UAV turn into a fake advanced UAV where it will show you the direction of an enemy on the radar, it's really powerful. But also, a hidden effect of Bird's Eye is whenever an enemy calls up a UAV, you actually get a radar sweep, and then whenever that UAV goes away, you get another radar sweep, and then you also have your minimap zoomed out, which means UAVs and advanced UAVs are even more powerful. So Bird's Eye is great, but as long as you're not pinging on the enemy's UAV, or, you're not one-shot, and maybe getting that kill on someone while you're one-shot could have, well, put you at full health and got you ready for the next fight. But it's still a good perk, don't get me wrong. So here we are, this is our final perk tier list, and I understand that a lot of you guys come from different backgrounds, different skill levels, have different goals when you're playing the game, but from my perspective, this is just from a, well, sweaty player's perspective. So, everybody is entitled to their own opinion and what they feel is actually benefiting them or not, because at the end of the day, you're the one who's playing the game. So I'd be curious to hear what you guys think about my tier list in the comment section below. And now let's go ahead and get into some good perk combinations, and then we'll end up from there. So I want to go over some of my favorite perk packages that I think you guys could find some success with if you're trying to improve your scores, as well as just overall do better and fit a certain playstyle. So starting off, we have the Rusher build, which is going to be Bomb Squad, Double Time, Fast Hands, and Quick Fix. Again, a lot of these perks are about being as fast as possible, so if we're trying to run around the map and just frag out, we need to have as much speed as possible, and also having explosive resistance means any claymores or proximity mines we might come across, we can go ahead and survive those. Next up, we have the Streaker build, which this is probably my most common perk package I use, which is going to be Scavenger, Bomb Squad, Hardline, and Ghost. Now sometimes I will trade out Ghost with Quick Fix as an alternative for this build, but again, if we're playing against maybe some stronger tier players, being able to streak on them a little bit easier, we have Ghost and Hardline, and then on top of that, if they're trying to throw nades at us, we have Bomb Squad and then Scavenger to make sure we don't run out of ammo. And then for a full-on stealth build, we have Tracker, so that way we're hiding those skulls whenever we're killing people. We have Bomb Squad, so that way enemy explosives aren't killing us as easy. We have Cold-Blooded, so that way streaks won't notice us, as well as any spotter scopes are high alert. And then we also have Ghost, because we want to stay off the enemy's radar. And last but not least, this one's a little bit more about positioning and rotating around the map and having as much information and fortification as possible. This perk package has double time, so we can go from position to position just a little bit easier. We also have Bomb Squad, which again is going to allow us to survive claymores or proximity mines or any other explosives that might be being used against us. Then we have Resupply, which allows us to use whatever equipment we have at our disposal as we see fit. And we have Bird's Eye, so that way we can see more on our radar and make better informed decisions. Anyways, this has been perks and what I feel are the best perks, as well as some perk packages to help you guys out in Modern Warfare 2's multiplayer. Let me know your favorite perk packages in the comment section below, as well as what your favorite perk is. Curious to hear from you guys. Anyways, I will see you all in the next video. Have a great day.